Hey, welcome to Heroes House. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and how's it going?
Good. And we're going to do a big old news roundup. We haven't just done a news show in a while, and
Hmm.
there's been a lot going on. We're not going to try and cover everything, but there's a few things that have kind of tickled our fancy. And while I'm using that particular word, I think I'm going to go ahead and say it early, Paul. If you like what we do here and you like these videos, feel free to subscribe, like, share, comment down below. We love to hear from you. We're actually live. So if you're watching this right now, get in there, comment, we'll read it live. And all of those things add up to doing what? Tickling the analytics. Tickle those YouTube analytics with us, people. Don't be smashing like buttons or beating subscribe buttons like the other YouTubers ask for. Here at Hear Us Out, we tickle the analytics, which just
Yeah,
means do it all. Just do it all.
yeah, it's
He still
so
hates that.
weird.
I know. I'm going to get you like pajamas with tickle the analytics written on them for Christmas.
Do I'll
Let
wear
me
them. I'll wear them at a show. Wear them. I'll wear them live.
Yeah,
Um,
good stuff. So
which goes,
news show, Paul. I think
yeah,
myself and Paul, we haven't talked about each other's kind of what we're bringing up, so that we can do it right in front of you. This will all be raw, live um, opinion and reaction. So, Paul, do you want to hit me with your first bit of news?
yeah. I don't know where to start actually. Okay, well, I'll start. I'll start with which was one that we previously just didn't mention to each other. George Clooney's. Excuse me. George Clooney is doing a film, kind of a sci-fi film, um,
Oh,
which is going to be interesting enough. It's a film essentially about scientists who go on a journey, and when they come back, which was they essentially have come back to a extinction level event, which was on Earth. So George Clooney is being the main is the main character. He's also it's also one of his director. He's also the director.
oh,
I
okay.
don't know why
He's
I try to
he's he's
fancy that
doing
up.
double duty. He's directing and starring.
Yeah.
And
So
like you mentioned that we talked about this, but you didn't mention George Clooney. So was this part of the thing where you were talking about time loops or something then?
no, no, no. This as
Oh,
in this was one that we didn't talk about. Or I
oh, okay.
mentioned this. It was one that I had in the background kind
Ah,
of thing. So
very
I
good.
thought I'd bring it up as a starter. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Which is it reminds me of kind of because we had that string of like The Martian, Interstellar. I think this
Mm,
is I'm not going to include Tenant in that list, but like yeah, Martian, Interstellar, and I think which goes the Midnight Sky is going to be
yeah.
the next kind of iteration of that, which will be interesting. So yeah, it'll be good.
So George Clooney off to space comes back and the world's ending.
Yeah, like it's essentially no, I think it's after it's ended.
Ooh.
So like I
And
think it's
is this like pre-production, or do you know, like
I
are
think
we
they're in the
talking? And
middle.
I wouldn't be asking when they're going to release it in cinemas because nobody knows when anything's coming out in cinemas. But
I
is it a next year movie?
so it's probably going to be a next year movie. I think they've either finished up principal shooting and then they're doing some kind of I guess either landscape or secondary shots and stuff like that. So it should be interesting.
Cool.
I feel like there's another film like it. I like in the back of my archived head, like coming back to essentially a ruined Earth kind of thing. Though it could also just be a slightly generic kind of like
Yeah.
sci-fi story. But I feel like
I feel
maybe
like there's something there too that's going to hit both of us. You know what? Let's put a clock on this. Anybody want to shout out how long it's been from now to when both of us go? You know, the movie we're thinking is.
yeah,
I'm going to say it's. I'll go the over under on about 7 minutes from now. That's how my brain seems to be working right now.
7 minutes from now. Okay, that is
7 minutes from now.
generous. Okay.
Yes, I know. I'm going to use your George Clooney goes to space, comes back after an extinction level event, to segue smoothly into
Segue.
the only bit of space news I have, which is about a week old now. So some of you will have heard
Oh
this.
yeah.
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is going to space. Everybody, we mentioned it way, way, way back when Tom and Doug Lyman, who he worked with in Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, depending on which jurisdiction you're in as to what. It's the fantastic film about time loops with him and Emily Blunt. Um, so him and the director. our Tom and the director, thanks to NASA and Elon Musk and a bunch of other people, are due to go to space basically this time next year, October 2021, to film a movie, not just a documentary, but an actual fictional theatrical movie in the space station. So, Paul, if George in the one you were talking about went away and came back to, let's say, something of pandemic level proportions, could we maybe be very lucky that when Tom Cruise goes off to the International Space Station, he comes back and the world is fine? You know,
Yeah,
just
oh,
a little bit of reverse fortune there.
that could be true. Yeah, you could have a film which would be interesting about people trying to leave a horrible world, and then like literally
Yeah.
when they leave, it just clears up, and but they have a hell of a time or something like that. You know?
Well, what do you think of the whole? Because I don't have all the details, and no one has all the details. They're not releasing what the movie's actual subject matter is going to be, other than they've given away one set detail. Essentially, there's no real plot lines. They've
Hmm.
just given a location, space, set, the International Space Station. Um, I don't. They're not saying who's providing craft services, who's sending the food up there.
Yeah.
I'm
NASA.
hoping it's all
It's
union jobs.
it says NASA, 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 NASA.
Exactly. Exactly.
um,
But yeah, so what do you think? Because my take on the smart way to do this movie isn't to do one of those movies that everybody goes to see. The Tom Cruise went to space to make this film, and have it be one section of the movie. You know, because you can do that with CGI. You have to make it about the fact that he's in the space station, the ISS, properly. You know, make that part of the plot, part of the story, intrinsic to the idea of the movie.
like I first of all, I don't think it's going to be a good movie.
Well, tell us what you really think, Paul.
No, it's not like any kind of like I hate Tom Cruise or anything like that. It's always these kind of groundbreaking films that are like pushing the boundaries of kind of where the sets where they can record and stuff like that, and do that kind of thing. Um, are always like they feel slightly gimmicky because they want to
Yeah,
show you more of the like any kind of the under the sea ones. When they started filming actually under the sea, they felt a little bit gimmicky because they were like, "Look what we can do," kind of
yeah,
stuff, rather than in like I guess incorporating it into the actual like storylines, and ignoring the fact that they're actually like in space,
yeah,
like for real kind of thing, making it part of the story rather than the gimmick kind of thing, like because not Pandora, Avatar was like that. It was like,
yeah,
this is the best graphics and stuff like that, so it's like, that's great, but your story's kind of shit.
yeah. Look at
um
our colorful 3D, but it was crap,
yeah.
like story wise.
So like, I don't think the film's going to be good, but I do agree that if they are to make it good, they will have to intrinsically incorporated into the storylines and stuff like that, so that it's not a gimmick. It's like just a featurette
Yeah,
of
I,
it.
I, I hear you. I hear you. And you know, it does pose the question: how is he going to run, and what is he going to run away from? The ISS isn't that big. The International Space Station. I don't have the dimensions in front of me, but I do know in zero G, it's very difficult to get purchased with the feet. So is he actually just going to get a push from the director and then do this through the
What is
air?
this is the thing, because Tom Cruise has like perfected the run with not moving your head kind of thing. I guess maybe we're gonna find out the origins. Maybe it's some kind of time thing where like they by accident do something in space and Tom Cruise gets sent back in time, and he's already perfected the running with the head thing because he was in space. I don't know. That was a stupid movie, but it would be fun.
The- I
Um,
just I love the fact that there are going to be two things that come out of this. It's either going to be a good or bad film. Who knows? You know, I'm choosing to be optimistic just to have the contra view. I kind of agree with you, Paul. It's probably going to be rubbish. But the other thing we're going to get are memes and amateur comedians all over the world finding ways to make funny tweets and funny internet content about Tom Cruise in space.
hmm.
We did an episode last week, everybody. You should go and check it out in our video library about Muppets, recasting movies with Muppets. I'm already thinking there was, pigs in space was a big thing in the Muppets. I don't know if anybody remembers that sequence. There was a whole thing on their show. They had pigs in space.
Uh,
Every time I say Tom Cruise in space, he's actually up there with Miss Piggy in the ISS now,
well,
and she's coming on to him in a very inappropriate way.
that's that's going to be the interesting thing. Is like, is it going to be ending up? Uh, like, is it like, yeah, it was a decent film, but and now it's just going to be the butt of a lot of jokes for like the next couple of years, kind of thing, as they do principles like photography and stuff like that. So
Well, I want to get it out there, and we try and avoid politics and religion on this show as much as we can. But when it comes to Tom Cruise, people are going to be making jokes about. Well, you know what the next level in Scientology is? It's a trip to the space station, folks. That's what it is. Once you get to level 8, that's when you
oh,
get to go
he's
to
going
space.
back to the spaceship to, I don't know, fight Zardon or whatever the hell that crazy ship is
Yeah,
called.
I'm not even touching it. Can we sashay over to the comments, because I can see we've got a few people in there.
Go for
Let's
it.
shout out some folks and say hi.
Or it's
Uh,
that way. No, is it?
for first up, which way is it for you? It's
It's
this
that
way
way.
for me. Yeah.
So
So,
sorry. It's it's this way on screen for me.
oh,
Sorry, I don't.
who knows? You know what? I did a zero G running gag a minute ago, so I don't think we have to worry about orientation or screens. Um, Ben, Nora, and Brew have all commented. Ben says, could they not just use the Hollywood studios they shot the moon landing in? Conspiracy theorist. Which, by the way, reminds me, I've got to watch Capricorn 1. Something that I told all of you to watch, and I said I was going to watch it about 15 episodes ago, and I still haven't. It's a great theatrical movie with O.J. Simpson in it, I think. No, it wasn't O.J. Simpson. Maybe it was. Shot in the 80s, and it's about faking the moon landing. If you haven't seen Capricorn 1, do. I
Oh
plan on
yeah,
watching it again soon.
yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I remember you doing that. I remember you telling us.
Nora got there first with the he's just searching for Thetans joke.
No, well, there you
Damn it.
go.
Too fast. Ah, geez, Tom Cruise. That's Bruce's comment is just, geez, Tom Cruise. Yeah, you know what? That kind of sums it up. That closes that piece of news. I think, Brew, you tied a bow on that
Yeah,
one nicely.
pretty
Yeah.
much. I don't know what I should. Should I do some statistics, or
Oh,
bore people with some statistics?
well, if you're going to
Um,
bore people with statistics, I promise that I'll choose the most salacious and vacuous kind of pop culture dirt news that I have on my list next. So
okay.
go for it.
Which good. So, Mulan, the live action film came out. Which is
Mm-hmm.
it has been an interesting kind of divergence because the numbers have been not really broken down, but the categories have. So, like, as in the film cost 200 million to film, which goes, and it's only made a box office which is of about 65 million.
And is that theatrical release only? They released it as pay early Disney Plus, didn't they?
Yeah.
So you could
So
pay like I think it was $30 to own it on Disney Plus.
yeah, so it was something like that on Disney Plus. It was their new premium kind of system to kind of, I guess, have a look at it. This is a theoretical release, which goes, and it's based mostly in China.
Okay,
For the international, which goes, for the which goes domestic one, they don't have a domestic one. It's the first time that they don't
right.
have a domestic um, box
Box office
office kind
return.
of things,
Okay,
because they are still, because the way that they're talking about it, or the way that they're seeing it, is that it is now spread because they're releasing it openly in December, I believe.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah, actually, a little recap for everybody. Mulan was made pre-COVID. Was supposed to come out during COVID. Got a theatrical release in limited
Asia,
release in some parts of Asia. Yeah.
yeah,
But the rest of the world, it was being given out as premium video on demand on Disney Plus, as in pay $30, you can buy it now, or wait until December and you'll get to see it as part of your Disney Plus.
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, pretty much. So the statistics are kind of like, I guess, are kind of different because it costs 200 million to make. It's only made 65 million in the box office, close to 66. This is in the international box office. This is a big hit for them because they estimated that it'll be a lot more in China because it is a folklore story in China.
Hmm.
Um, But yeah, so they're taking a big hit. But as we said, the domestic box office hasn't been disclosed because essentially what they're doing is they're extending the domestic box office until December.
Okay.
So what they're
So
doing
are they going to
is
start counting Disney Plus subscribers as people who subscribed to see?
no, as in
Oh,
whoever paid for the premium version of the first look of the Mulan thing is now going to be, I think, their idea of the domestic box office.
uh, that's a
Yeah,
bit of a
it's a
yeah,
bit
it's a
of
bit of a jip.
it's a bit of a stretch because it means that then we have to redefine the whole box office system, kind of thing.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that's
I don't
because
know if I'm down with that. They should just declare it as, and they can say, look, we're going to declare our premium video on demand returns as what we consider our gross for this region, but not kind of call it box office. That's a bit
like
disingenuous.
this is the thing. Like the box office is essentially the first weekend of its
Mm,
opening, and they can definitely check the statistics of how many people bought the premium version. So they can still measure box office in its still old form of doing it. It's just weird that they haven't released that, or I haven't been able to find it specifically,
mm.
which is which
Well,
is
being honest, they're still doing better than Tenant, the one movie that did try a theatrical release. Tenant again is a 250 million dollar movie, so that means realistically it's more like 400 million that it has to make to break even because you've got
mhm.
your ancillary costs and marketing budget, etc. on top of that, and it had done marketing. Mulan
Ye-
had, but less so, I think. So they mightn't have sunk quite as much money.
they
And
did
it's
a
it's going to be playing in December. Tenant isn't leaving the cinema like ever unless something else comes in that it's worth taking it out. They're just going to leave it there. If they can make a tenner a week for the rest of like 2021, if no other movies are ever playing, they'll leave Tenant out there.
yeah, they will. Like with Mulan, they didn't do a large push in marketing in the Western world. They did a lot in the Eastern world, which is where your whole kind of like the marketing budget is still it needs to be added on because the 200 million is literally just for principal photography
Yeah.
and for secondary photography and actor and all that kind of stuff. So you are so I would say probably about 50 million extra onto that list for the marketing alone, just for China
Mhm.
or just for it's for the East kind of thing. So yeah, it has not in any way because I think Tenet was like 63 million so far.
I don't know what it's up to. It was around that the last time I saw. It's
Yeah.
probably added a few more million since then, but it's dribbling in.
Yeah, like that's the biggest
Dribbling in.
issue is it's dribbling in kind of thing. So it's not making a large amount of money back on its returns and stuff. I think it was
Mm.
brave of them. Like I commend, I hope, I think it's brave of them to do it at the time that they did. In the sense that they decided to pull the trigger on it, but you can definitely see that they've learnt because
Mhm.
they keep pushing back. They haven't as I said the last time we saw the trailer, they haven't got a, release date
A
on it.
date at the end of it, yeah. Well, actually, and that's that. So Disney taking a bit of a hit on Mulan is one thing, but there, and I will, for those of you that are not interested in Marvel, do not switch off. This will not take long. They own Marvel, and yeah, one of their big slated movies, Black Widow, which has been constantly pushed back, is now pushed out till May 2021. So that means no Marvel movies till 2021. But what isn't looking so bad for Disney is Disney Plus has two big things going on. One, they have one of their big Marvel TV shows, WandaVision, the one I'm most interested in, because it's going to be kind of mental. It's going to be a bit weird. It's going to be very different. It's not going to be your what if you have a stereotype for comic book action shows. It ain't going to be that. It's going to be much more trippy in a weird way. But the trailer came out and was a massive, massive hit, like 40 plus million views. I think it was crazy. I should actually check the number. So Disney Plus are like, yay, this is good. We'll do well out of that. We've also got the Mandalorian, so we got more Baby Yoda to make us yay. But
Yeah.
their real masterstroke showed up on my phone today because my phone told me two things from two different sources. First was the people that I get my TV package from. That I get my TV and internet all together. Otherwise I wouldn't bother with the TV thing. They tell me just sent me a message going, just so you know, all the Disney children's channels are going to be removed from your TV service. But don't worry, we still have, these other kids' TV shows or channels. I don't watch kids' TV channels, but it made me laugh when I got an email from Disney Plus, not but an hour later, going, good news. All of your favorite Disney classics and all of your other Disney this and Disney that, plus all your Disney TV channels are now going to be in all one great place, Disney Plus. Think about it. Anybody who was relying on insert your TV provider here, for us in Ireland, we have uh, Virgin Media, Air, NT. I don't know who else is doing it.
Sky and stuff.
Sky, yeah. So if you had been parenting through sitting them in front of Disney XD or whatever that channel is, and you were like, I'm not getting Disney Plus, I have the Disney channel here, this will be fine. My kids don't know the difference between the new stuff and the old stuff. Yeah, tough luck. Disney Plus just realized you're another market they can squeeze. So Mickey Mouse wants your money, wants your kids' eyeballs, but wants your money more.
Like, yeah, it's an interesting move for them. With that announcement, they've actually just made themselves Netflix.
Mm.
Which is
Netflix for kids in particular.
Well, this is the interesting kind of thing, because it's like it means that they don't, if they can continue on with this, and they can start slowly removing distribution rights from other carriers, it means that they become the only place you can get Disney stuff from is that, and possibly the cinema,
Yeah.
which goes, or very slightly you'll get the one or two movies at Christmas and stuff like that, but they'll probably be bought at like such a ridiculous premium.
Yeah.
Like it's
True,
really
actually.
it's a really good idea from their business, about especially since their parks are still slightly not doing well, because they still
Yeah.
do the thermometer checks, the fever checks and everything, and limited amounts of people are allowed into the parks and stuff. So
Yeah. This
it's
time, sorry, go on.
it's just an interesting move. It's a very aggressive move, like,
Yeah. It's
but
bold, but it's
yeah,
clever. This time last year, and remember, we didn't know COVID was about to happen. This time last year, when we were talking on this very channel about Disney Plus, go check the videos, like, comment, subscribe, tickle stuff, analytic. Tickle stuff if you want to. The Disney Plus conversation that we had was, it's going to be a tough nut to crack. Netflix, Disney can do it because Disney have Marvel. Like, they have the marketing machine of these movies coming out 3 times a year that are massive blockbusters. They're, at that stage, Black Panther and Endgame and everything, where they were making box office records. Disney can't fail, but still getting a streaming service off the ground is kind of tough. Then a couple of things happened. I think everybody's going to credit the COVID situation for people wanting to be inside and having a streaming service. I think that helps. But you know what? I'm actually, when writing the history of all this, I think someone's going to go, and then The Mandalorian happened, because it made adults think they could watch stuff, and it had Baby Yoda in it, which kept the Disney kid-friendly angle alive.
mm-hmm.
I think The Mandalorian minted Disney Plus, and then the world and all the circumstances that happened have made it their game to win. And now they're starting to play hardball. I can see why they're taking these big bold steps, because they're on the up. Like Disney, I don't watch Disney Plus. I have a subscription. I don't watch it very often, but I would not bet on them disappearing anytime soon. And if I was Netflix, I wouldn't be as worried about any of the rest of them as I am about Disney Plus.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing. So. First of all, yeah, I don't. I think Netflix doesn't have to worry about it. Like Prime TV, I've now seen Prime TV have several things that Netflix has. So, but frankly, it's a lot easier to find them on Netflix than it is on Prime still. So,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So there's little things that I go to Prime now. So their TV shows and stuff like that they've made, which are amazing. The Boys included as well, but they've also got the entire thing of House and everything like that. And Lie to Me. Um, but I don't go to them for a massive amount of stuff. Netflix is
No.
still the main kind of thing. Disney Plus, though, on the other hand, has a whole niche market there, because it has all the Marvel stuff. it has all the Star Wars stuff and it has all the Disney stuff. So like it's got a niche going on there
Yeah.
that I can't like I can't find anywhere else really. But I would say that like I don't know how much COVID had to do with this or the Mandalorian, but this could have been their plan. You know, because we also were saying that they need to pull something big.
Mm.
You know, and like especially after summer
Yeah.
because we were like if WandaVision and not Hawkeye
The two
Falcon
captains.
and
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier doesn't come out during the summer, they have to do something. They have to do something big, and I think pulling essentially distribution rights to all their carriers and just solely going to a streaming service is probably one of their biggest moves that they could possibly
Yeah.
do. On top of that, since smart TVs and everything like that already do Netflix apps and stuff like that, there's no way that they're actually breaking their kind of like I guess line to their pipeline to people. It's
Yeah,
just
that's
that
true too.
it's now on a different pipeline, one that they specifically control. Because actually
Well,
thinking
and
about it,
yeah, sorry,
sorry,
go
go
on.
ahead.
No, no, go finish up.
Because thinking about it, because Netflix charges um Samsung to put itself to have its app already built formatted onto their TVs. They because it's a selling point as well
Oh
for
yeah, yeah.
smart
Have a
TVs.
Netflix button on the remote and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so like they charge it. So I will not be surprised if right next to that Netflix button there's a Disney Plus button pretty quickly. You
Yeah.
know, so
Well, actually, funny you should mention that because I've actually seen a remote with an Amazon Prime button on it
oh yeah,
on Tinternet. Yeah, I don't want to. For anybody who's not interested in the whole streaming wars thing, I suppose we'll move on in a second. But one last thing, just because you raised a really good point, and I wanted to follow in behind you. If you were to choose a streaming service, obviously I watch stuff on Amazon Prime, same as you do. They have great content, but most of the time I'm like, cool, Amazon Prime has it. Shame it's not on Netflix because their experience isn't great. I like their content, their experience isn't great. Netflix's experience is superior. I don't watch much Disney Plus, like I mentioned, but it's worth the subscription for me because I would pay that much just to see The Mandalorian and one Marvel show and watch Jeff Goldblum. You know, I'm paying it back. You know, I'm not pirating. I could, but I'm like, okay, my subscription covers my cinema costs for going to these movies. It's a fair enough cop. It's not an unreasonable amount of money for the enjoyment and the service I'm getting, but it's not built for me.
hmm
And it's not necessarily even built for you, but they know they have us with this much of their library, they have us. With
yeah,
the rest of their library, they have everyone else. Here's the thing someone built a streaming service just for us, and we can't get it. And it's not doing brilliantly well. And that's HBO Max.
yeah.
And they're not doing brilliantly well because they actually have a streaming service for us and for the people in the chat that I know, for you guys, because I know that it's the sort of stuff that you are watching. Um, but we're not great money makers. That's the struggle that HBO Max has realized. You're not going to have as much money from the niche of people who are into the HBO style, really high quality TV as you are if you can say, we'll get the Marvel people, we'll get the Disney kids, we'll get whatever. They have such a broad appeal. You know, they're printing money. And I really feel sorry because I'd love HBO Max to be a huge success because it's the one library of stuff that I really want to be able to access most.
Well, that's the thing. I think you'll be finding pretty quickly on to keep them still fight in the fight. I think HBO will pull their Sky connection, especially now. Once again, we don't really like to get political, but this is specifically to it, especially with Brexit,
Yeah.
because Sky
Yeah.
is a specifically a English kind of headquartered company.
Yeah. It's a UK company for sure.
Yeah, so like it's one of those things that you might find that the rest of Europe has Sky. It's removed from Sky, so they'll be just like, okay, well, for our English market, for our UK market, we will continue to have Sky as our main kind of carrier, but for everybody else, geo-locked,
Yeah.
unlocked, you know?
Well,
So,
we should move on from Sky. I want to join you in the comments for a section though, Paul, because I did catch out of the corner of my eye. Ben made a really good point. Now TV gets my HBO money. It's funny. Now TV gets my Sky money. You're talking about Sky there, Paul, because Formula One has the racing series, the car racing stuff, has fallen behind the paywall of Sky for me, and I
mhm.
refuse that crap. So I'm actually going in through Now TV selectively when I cannot resist watching it live. The rest of the time, I'm watching it time delayed, recorded highlights, whatever. So yeah, there's services like Now TV that are really starting to look more and more attractive.
See, I think because Now TV is just a subsidiary of Sky.
Yeah, but there's going to be more of them.
There is going to be more of them.
Yeah.
Well, there might not be because if Disney pulls their distribution rights for everybody except and
Yeah,
now
true.
and then HBO Max does the same. Now TV is literally just an extra like external carrier for Sky. Like I get your
Yeah,
point because I
it's a pick and mix Sky. It's basically Sky still make the money, but it's their pick and mix. I'm just not giving them the subscription that they crave so much.
yeah, like I pay the tenner I pay the tenner for the 24-hour sports thing so that I can watch the Formula One.
Hmm.
But like yeah, it doesn't get any of my other kind of other aspects, and I'm very much burning on the HBO content because like
Yeah.
it's interesting because I was going to say not to break our kind of news things,
Hmm.
but I'm wondering if you looked at at the numbers of tyrants that have been happening
No,
in
I haven't
recent.
actually checked the torrent stats for any of that stuff actually.
Yeah, like has copyright piracy gone down since Netflix and since a lot of these services are giving TV and movies essentially just on the internet and
Hmm.
also giving us like probably.
If only somebody had a YouTube channel and could do this as a topic after they have had a chance to research it and get a whole episode out of it.
Well, this is the thing. I'm going to put it out there because this is an interesting kind of thing. It's the trends of kind of during the early '90s to early 2000s, to 2000. I say probably by 2012, 2013. There was a lot of piracy going on, even with Netflix being so open about their content and everything like that. But then now with the trend of moving towards the streaming kind of way of life, I'm wondering what the numbers are now.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've been on record as look, we all know at some point in the past we've all watched something that could be considered what we colloquially call a yoink. And yoink just means it came from somewhere that I'm not going to go into. It could be a torrent, it could be somebody handed you a hard drive or whatever it might be. We've all done it. But thanks to these streaming services, I want to pay to support studios because I want to pay to support artists. I go to the cinema to support cinema, the buildings themselves, the institutions that they are. We've gone through all this. But the thing that annoys me is when people make it difficult for you to give a reasonable amount of money, a fair price for a fair service. When they make that hard, I get kind of annoyed. So the only time I'm ever like, you know what, I think it's fair enough if people pirate that is if somebody makes something really, really awkward and hard to access. Um, and I'm considering things like Greyhound on Apple TV lately. Somebody asked me where else can you go and see that, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't, and I'm not gonna. But I was like, you know what? Maybe you should just see. There's probably a torrent up, and I almost hated myself the minute I said it. But I was like, they put it in a service that I don't even know how many people in this island even have.
yeah, like it's an ecosystem in which is very difficult to break into, whereas Netflix and Disney Plus is incredibly easy. I think that's
Yeah.
the whole thing is not only are we willing to pay for I'm sorry for hijacking the news thing, but
Ah, yeah, sure. Look, these are all still watching, right? Like, subscribe, share, tickle if you are.
um which goes that's three. Um I'm wondering how like it's the whole thing is that we've gotten the whole like conveniency of like paying like I would definitely the supporting kind of thing I definitely enjoy doing like the studios and stuff like that. I'm a very big we're both movie kind of and TV people, so like yeah, supporting the studios and everything is very important to us. But the awkwardness of seeing trying to get the whole hands on stuff like because the Mandalorian at the start was very difficult to get our hands on, and then when they finally did releases in Europe, they were once again doing episodic releases again for some strange reason, even though it had already been released in the States. It was just another money grabbing thing, which was to extend ourselves. Because if you think about it, there's 8 episodes, 9 episodes of The
Yeah,
Mandalorian.
8, I
Then
think. Yeah,
that means that and releasing it every end of week. That means that we go over the 1 month
the
free
free trial.
subscription,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
kind of thing, which is a
It's
smart move.
like,
I can't dispute it. It's a smart move.
again, we have a short informational infographic video about binge watching, and it covers some of these tactics that are used. Go check that out in our video section. I'm really pushing this, and I promise I won't say the T word. There will be no more of this.
So, but
We
yeah,
better, yeah,
we should do a whole
yeah,
we should do an episode essentially on the right, the like again expanding on the tactics of this, and also maybe the piracy kind of and convenience thing again
yeah.
another time.
And
So
look, folks, the reason people are like, you're a sucker for wanting to pay for stuff. If we don't pay, they don't get to make it. It's not like YouTube. You watch this for free because we're completely unprofessional, and like, look at what you're watching. That's why you don't pay for it. Don't get me wrong. We can't. This didn't cost us zero, but if it cost a hell of a lot more than zero, we probably wouldn't have been able to do it. Um, it's not the same when you make music or a movie or any art. Artists have historically been starving for many, many reasons. In the modern age, there's no good reason for them to starve. If you create good things, you should get paid for money.
mhm.
So that's my rant over. Let's check those comments before I pick a really random news story from my list. What have you got there, Paul? Do you want to go for the comments?
I'm just reading Ben's. If you're playing €10 for Now TV, give him a ring to cancel. Play fake hardball. We're getting it for €1, I think, for 6 months anyway. Yeah, see, I don't. There's nothing on like the HBO stuff. Like I have a lot of DVD or Blu-rays of the content. Like I've got the first season of uh Philip Pullman's Northern Lights and The Golden Compass. I've got like Generation Kill, Band of Brothers, and everything. So like a lot of their content and stuff like that, I have already. Buffy and Angel are on Prime,
Amazon.
so like
Yeah.
I have like it's their new stuff that I'm kind of like I'm hounding for, but I'm not willing to pay Sky for it
Mhm.
because like if I was paying Sky, I might as well just get Skybox, you know.
Yeah, true.
So
Well, Generation Kill, everybody, Paul mentioned it. Watch it if you haven't. We throw it in every now and anytime it gets mentioned, it's like, just if you haven't, see it. If you thought The Wire was good, Generation Kill, it's incredible. I'm going to throw in the random. I said I'd pick something pretty vacuous next, and I see on my list of notes Borat. There's a Borat sequel coming out on Prime at the end of the month. So there's not a whole lot really to be said about that. It's more Borat by the looks of it, but it's Borat in the time of COVID and obvious political differences in various jurisdictions around the world, and Borat's interesting take on things, and obviously the incessant wind-up that Sacha Baron Cohen can do like nobody else, like very few before him at least. Ever since Ali G, Sacha Baron Cohen's been the master of staring straight at somebody, saying something really uncomfortable and stupid, and sitting very, very still and still looking at them. So
yeah,
yeah.
like this is interesting to me because I haven't seen Borat the first one. I haven't seen it, so
Oh, okay.
I'm not overly interested in the character or anything like that. But the thing that's made me interested in it is that Borat has become so famous that in trailers and stuff like that, it shows people coming out and seeing him, like as in like walking in the streets and seeing the guy dressed as like seeing Borat and going, "Wait a minute, are you Borat?" And him going, "No, no, 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 I'm not Borat." And it's just like, "You're Borat," and then like flocks of people and stuff like that. So it's an interesting kind of like I guess way of doing it because like the first one is meant like both meant to be documentaries.
Oh yeah, it's the
So
fake, the
like
mockumentary.
yeah, which is but it's an interesting kind of live version of a mockumentary because like mockumentaries are tended to be films hidden as documentaries.
Yes, yeah, it's a pretend documentary as opposed to this live filming of somebody's real world performance art.
Yeah, kind of. So like it's an interesting kind of concept, because it's going to be the reason that Borat one was such a success was because he was such an unknown, and like people did take him at his face value of him being an actual, like, interviewer from a foreign land, kind of thing. Whereas this, if you even have like the inkling of like that Borat is like about Borat, if you've heard of Borat,
Yeah,
and then this guy is,
if it's ever past your consciousness, yeah, he's going to stick out. But look, there are people who haven't. I've somebody the other day said to me that they watched Le Mans '66. You know that movie,
yeah,
and they said, yeah, watch it. You know, you mentioned it. I didn't even know that there were races that went for 24 hours. And I was like, it's the Le Mans 24-hour race. And in my head, it's, Indy 500, Le Mans 24. Everybody's heard of all this stuff. And then I realized, actually, no, a lot of people have, and I have an interest in it. So I forget that there's an awful lot of people who just won't have crossed their radar. It's like some people in the comments who know me personally. You might mention a band or a song that's extremely popular, and I'll be like, who? Because some stuff just bounces off some people. So yeah, I'd say
yeah.
Borat has to look harder to find people who don't know him. But I'm sure
Oh,
with
these
perseverance,
days.
they're still out there.
It's just an interesting. I wonder how much of filming they've had to burn because of the recognition kind of thing happening. Like, could you imagine if they have one of those funny kind of interviews of someone, and then just halfway through it, they're just like, "Wait a minute,"
Yeah,
kind of thing. So
I will. I wonder. Look, again, moving on, but still, how many of those takes will be worth keeping in? Because that can
hmm,
make the movie just as good.
that's the thing.
The whole joke is nodding at the camera. You're supposed to know Borat's a made up loony character anyway, so the curtain being pulled might actually be just as much fun. So,
Hmm.
have you got another news story before I jump into what I really want to talk to you about? Because I have a surprise topic for you.
Okay, well, like, do you want to? I'll burn through a couple of, like, I guess, no.
Sure,
I have
rapid fire
one.
me.
Yeah. So which is everybody, people probably don't know, but which is Branson Cronenberg, which is doing a new film called Possessor, which is about a cyber hacker who hacks into people who have um, augments in their brain and stuff like that, and and it takes control of them to do crime. But actually gets stuck in the brain of someone, and essentially it becomes this kind of like consciousness fighting kind of thing, but it's set in a kind of cyberspace world. So now the reason this is important, and the reason I'm bringing it up, is because Brandon Cronenberg is the son of David Cronenberg, who is
I was
very
gonna
famous
ask. I was
for
gonna ask.
the body
Naked
horror
Lunch,
stuff.
body horror guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so The Fly, he was the one who made Jeff Goldblum. The Fly, Videodrome, like, which is he had a big hand in like a lot of kind of prosthetic and body horror stuff. So this is his son essentially following the footsteps of it, but doing it his own way, kind of thing. Because it's very important that we differentiate between David and Brandon, because Brandon has brought his own flavor to the body horror genre and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's my first story. Which is my second story, is that the theme song for the James Bonds, which is the new James Bond, has been officially released with a music video. That was because you said that it had been
Yeah, Billie
released.
Eilish. I knew it was again. Look at me, know my music. Hey, Billie Eilish, who was really popular last year, and I found out about her after everybody else had. She performed the James Bond theme tune at like an award show. That's where I heard it, and then I think like coronavirus shut the world down the next day, so there was no more hype about it, if I remember correctly. But I haven't heard about it or anything about it since. So it's now got a video, and it's the official marketing launch of you're about to see a Bond film. So we're doing the song release.
Yeah, yeah. So that's been officially released, I think, today.
Have you watched
Um,
it? Have you seen it yet?
I haven't, no. Like, because I was preparing a couple of stories for this, and it popped up onto my radar just
Hmm.
before, which is, so yeah. And then my last one is, well, my last quick one is, Zach Efron has been added to the cast of Firestarter, which is a Stephen King book. I think, now I could get this wrong because I can't remember fully, but I think Firestarter is the second, it's either the second book or second movie of the Carrie kind of grouping.
Okay.
kind of thing. I think it's set as the aftermath of Carrie going insane and killing or trying to kill everybody of the town that essentially bullied
Yeah.
her, kind of thing. But Zac Efron has been cast for that, so that'll be
Oh,
interesting. It
cool.
seems it's following the trend of Stephen King's movies slowly becoming more acceptable, and I'm hoping that it means
And
that the Dark Tower will finally get made.
also kind of continuing the series since they did the Doctor Sleep after Shining.
The Shining, yeah.
Shining. Thank you. Sorry, complete mental blank. Also, I just caught it in the comments. I see Brew, man. I'm really sorry we didn't catch this when we were talking about Borat because you spelt it with the perfect number of I's. He just says, I like, which is very much Borat. Um, yeah, you could have said loads of other things that I wouldn't have read out. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for making it one of his phrases that I can't say on air.
yeah.
Um, so can I hit you with something in a really rapid fire way? What links all of these things together? Let's see. I'm going to look at my notes again. Uh, Craft Legacy. So, The Craft is a movie from the '90s, essentially when I was in my formative years. Craft was a movie with Fairuza Balk and Nev Campbell from Scream movies. For some of you, from Family of Five, for others of us, and it was about high school girls doing the whole witch thing and then getting power corrupts. One of them gets a bit super dark. They all get a bit dark. One of them's good. One of them's bad. Usual stuff. Good little film. Was on a lot of posters and a lot of walls. Was a bit of a hit. It's not exactly Citizen Kane. It's also not even in a popularity sense. It's not Forrest Gump, but they're doing a sequel, essentially, the 20 years later sort of thing called Craft Legacy. And I watched the trailer. Did you watch the trailer for that thing?
I haven't watched the trailer now.
Oh, it's, yeah. Oh, you can see where they're going. They're like, what if it was today? Let's kind of try and remake the same movie and have a few nods that, yes, we are linking it to the other one. So before we even talk about that, there's that. There's also a trailer for a film called Iron Mask, which has Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you know what? I didn't even bother paying attention to the trailer. It was one of those, okay, so they're putting them in a movie and it looks like a big kind of kids film romp, a little blah, blah, Eastern mysticism mixed with kind of pirates and swords sort of deal. It's very, very themed. Um, but it's essentially, we're going to put Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie. And then I hear that they're going to make a movie, apparently with Ryan Gosling, about The Fall Guy, an 80s TV show that I talked about at length on this once when we were talking about the most 80s TV show ever. The Fall Guy is about a bounty hunter who's actually a stuntman. He just does bounty collections in his spare time.
yeah.
So, what all those things have in common? They're all relics from different stages of my childhood, from the young to the almost college era.
Hmm.
Why? Now, there's an age gap between us, Paul, and the reason I'm asking you instead of the audience is it's going to happen to you in about 10 years that all of a sudden, all of the phases of your childhood are going to be scraped for every last bit they have. I'm worried that they're starting to think I'm going to age out and not spend the money. So they're
Hmm.
like, let's get them in now. Let's get our Magnum TV shows. We had our A Team a few years ago. Is it a coincidence? Like, why do you need Jackie Chan and Schwarzenegger in a kids' film when the kids won't know who they are?
Well, see,
It's to
yeah,
see if I'll be interested.
but that's the interesting thing. Is it that people, because people know, even young people will know about, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, which is because he's been in the Terminator films of late and stuff like that. Um, but Jackie Chan's a bit of a, because I haven't seen him in anything in quite a long time. So
Well, actually, in fairness to him, he's been kind of doing more child-oriented movies anyway, some kind of preteen stuff. So maybe he does make sense. He might have a second
but
audience.
like
But
that's
point me to an 11-year-old who's actually watched an Arnold movie, because they're
yeah.
all pretty hefty for an 11-year-old.
Well, yeah, because the Kindergarten Cop, even like Kindergarten Cop is old. Like
Yeah, it's
Twins, stuff like that is all aged out.
yeah. So
So
what is it? Do you think I'm paranoid? because it was the Fall Guy thing that tipped me over the edge, and that's what made me want to talk about this. It's like I'm mentioning my favorite stuff from my childhood, and the place is bugged because they're just like, make a sequel or make a remake. Let's see if we can get him to buy one last T-shirt and buy one last cinema ticket, and then we'll move on to doing stuff from the 90s and 2000s.
Well, this is the thing. It could be well that because it could be the fact is that you've like if you had children and stuff like that, that's like you could have talked about these shows and stuff like that in length with them about how like oh these were films were, or these TV shows were great.
It's a good
That
point.
eventually you like this then they get released and as you said they're kind of or these actors are kid friendly or great and stuff like that like Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger. But you might end up bringing your children to the cinema with you, or sitting them down and watching the TV show with you kind of thing, and that indoctrinates a brand new group
Yeah,
into
get the next
the
generation.
yeah kind of thing. So it means that in as you said in the next 20 years when they grow up, they'll be like because more than likely also the whole thing is they'll have watched a new one and you'll eventually go either yeah that's pretty good or that's not as good as the old one, and they'll get a little bit older and then they'll try to watch the old one and either find it hilarious or whatever kind of thing. Um, it's so it just lengthens the kind of I guess shelf life of them because then eventually if they enjoyed the old one and the new one in 20 to 30 years when they're older they'll just do the exact same thing. You'll find out that 20 30 years they're just like bringing out another Magnum or Fall Guy kind of thing again because
Well, that's true, but they've got to move on to like there were new things in the 90s and 2000s that they're going to have to start, unearthing those corpses to see if they can reanimate them and do this process again.
well this is the thing is when I say 20 to 30 years for your stuff again for my stuff it's more than likely going to be 10 to 20 years because
That's
they've
true.
already started on remaking literally all the Disney films that I grew up, Lion
Well,
King and
that's
everything
true too.
as live action
Yeah.
films and stuff. So like in 10 to 20 years, more than likely all the like every film that I've grew up with originally, which is the '90s kind of thing, will be then rehashed because they've already started on the craft. The Craft was a '90s film when like I was a kid. I remember watching it like just after it came out on DVD or VHS. So like it's
That's
already
true.
started for me as well, which is a crazy thing because like it's probably finishing up for you, or it might be they might be kind of going deeper into the genre into the or the
Yeah,
time periods
there's
thing.
that crossover point for us. Actually, just because we're running close to our time, but I do want to throw this out because we'll talk about one more thing probably before we finish out, and it'll give you all a chance in the comments, in case they are listening to us, in case Hollywood is actually listening to our show. Which, by the way, hi Hollywood, don't forget to like and subscribe. Um, I want you to shout out in the comments what is it that you would love them to actually remake that they haven't thought of yet? Because I'm sure there's obscure 80s, 90s, and even if you want 70s or 2000s TV shows or movies that you're like, you know what, I'd love it if they did that again. They tried MacGyver a few years ago and it didn't land.
Yeah,
I would love to see somebody take MacGyver on and do a modern version of it. But seriously, not just as a nostalgic take the mick. I think it'd be very, very interesting to see, since we've talked about it, nerds are cooler now.
mm,
What's who's more of the awesome mulleted nerd than MacGyver? Like science is cool, kids. Stay in school and always have your penknife with you.
hmm.
So yeah, shout it out. Give us your shouts, and we'll say it live so that whatever algorithm is reading our stuff can go and put it on a producer's desk.
Well, this the thing is, I'm gonna add a couple just to the list. I would
Oh,
really
cool.
I would because there's TV there's children's shows that I'd really want them to remake, which is Street Sharks.
You
Um,
mentioned Street Sharks before. That was after my time.
it's a
Is it what it
'90s
sounds like? Is this like walking around sharks?
it's '90s version. It's it's shark versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Brilliant.
Literally, that they just turn into
Brilliant.
like Hammerhead and Great White and that kind of and then the main bad guy is a piranha
And were
kind of thing.
they were they like I had Transformers and GoBots. And GoBots was the cheap knockoff, which you invariably bought in the shop because they were cheaper than a Transformer, and your mum didn't understand why she didn't understand the actual difference. Was that relationship held between? Were they a cheap imitation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I wouldn't say that. I'd say that they're complete. They're like an add-on to the
Okay,
like the animal hybrid kind of thing, because they're brothers who get mixed in with shark DNA, whereas I
that's
think
brilliant.
I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are just turn out turtles who become human like esque. So
Oh
like
man, I
they're
want to be in the pitch meeting for that.
yeah. So like and then there's another TV show, SWAT Cats, which I've mentioned before. It's literally just about two. It's called SWAT Cats: The Radical Squadron. They nearly had a remake on Kickstarter, which I like funded to fuck.
Oh,
Like because I have a monthly budget on Kickstarter stuff, and I burnt it all on that.
oh, and you
Because I
you you got in there behind them. Shit, and it didn't
oh yeah,
happen.
no, it
Oh,
didn't. It's like it's really really far. Like it got a whole bunch of like new set designs, new character designs, new props, everything. Like it's really close to like just all it needs is just a studio to animate it, really kind of thing.
Jesus.
So yeah, and it's some writers to kind of like take it on. Another one is damn it, it was a TV show that I can't remember now. Um, it'll come back to me.
Well, I kind of want I want the Street Hawk Automan kind of Knight Rider thing. I'd like them to take, even if they just do their own new version of it. It's time to do really dumb kind of either detective with a helping android car type thing, just without being too silly, let's put it that way, but also without being too tongue in cheek. Just have a go at making something lighthearted and enjoyable. You don't necessarily need Hasselhoff talking to his watch or anything, but just have something that isn't the person is the cyborg. Have them have the character outside themselves being an animate object, because that was a thing of the 80s. Something else talked to the human actor, be it a dog, be it a talking car, a talking motorbike, whatever it might be. I'd love to see one of those shows get a modern
Night
twist.
Boat.
Night boats. There's always a
Um,
fjord or a canal.
yeah,
Night boat.
I remembered. It's Walker Texas Ranger.
Oh,
I'd
the
love them.
Norris, the
Yeah,
Chukski.
I'd really like them to redo that TV show. It'd be difficult, but
It
it
would
would.
still be Chuck Norris though, because I think, isn't that the rule? Like Chuck doesn't get replaced.
I
Chuck replaces you.
I don't know how you're gonna do it, like kind of thing. So like I'd be interested to see, but like Walker Texas Ranger was just an amazing kind of like I don't know.
I
It's
never
just
watched it. Like, I watched about half an hour of Walker Texas Ranger my entire life. I've watched about 50 million hours of Matlock, which was the show that gave it its chance, I think. But that's because I lived in a house with an elderly man who Matlock is, kind of that was TV made for him. Murder She Wrote was made for her. And yeah, by the time Walker Texas Ranger came on, nobody in the house was interested in it.
it's it's such a weird because it still exists. So there's because in westerns you see marshals and they can just wander around the place and they're just like the federal kind of like police. Now you have the
Yeah,
FBI, which are essentially federal police. Marshals are now kind of like the transporters and kind of the prison kind of people. Rangers still exist. Texas Rangers still exist.
of course they do. Yeah, it's a real job.
Uh, and their whole purpose is literally to just wander like around like and just solve crime. So
Have you
like
not seen Steven Seagal's like homemade weird video type show that he had where he's like a sheriff? Yeah, Steven Seagal's not doing too good. Unsurprisingly enough. Don't look it up, folks, because somebody sent me a link. I watched about 5 minutes, felt bad, felt weird, felt off, like put off by it, and then just felt kind of sad,
yeah.
thinking that someday Jean Claude Van Damme is going to be a parking attendant or something and filming himself, going, I'm still relevant.
Hmm.
Uh, we better get to those comments because we're heading to time, and I have to say, you're not going to believe this,
Oh
Paul.
my! Oh wow!
Well, let's not bury the lead on that one too much.
Okay, yeah.
We're reading these comments in reverse. Ben tells us they are. Walker is happening. With Jared Padalecki. Padalecki. I don't know Jared Padalecki, do I? Ooh.
He's the supernatural guy. He's
Oh,
Sam. Sorry, that's pulling out
he's
a. He's the tall one.
he's is he the handsome brother? Because are they both handsome?
Yeah, they're both
I
handsome.
didn't watch Supernatural. I remember I know what one of them looks like and he was handsome, and I really hope the other guy was ugly so that the
No,
handsome
they're
thing is
both. I
relevant.
would I would say that they're
Yeah.
both quite dreamy. You know.
Oh well, if they're dreamy,
Um,
cool. So that's you're getting your Walker Texas Ranger.
um,
Woohoo!
I don't know about Jared. That's gonna be weird because I only know him as Sam. So it's gonna be weird. But I guess it'll be fine.
Jesus. Well, look, fair play. As long as they don't water it down too much and leave just enough cheese on the edges, because that I do remember of the Walker Texas. Because again, you didn't even have to watch it to know what it was.
Hmm.
So I hope they lean into that. Don't lose its charm
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
assume it had, that it seemed like it would have had.
I'm gonna sit you down and watch the entire first season of Texas Walker, like Walker Texas Ranger, with all
I'll
jokes
tell you what,
as.
we can do a special episode where we just and we won't put it out on any special day of the week. We'll just throw it out, not announce it. I will live stream watch a Walker Texas Ranger episode with you and do live commentary. Because I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I'm gonna be either ending up going, Paul, why did you like this? Or else I'll be like, I've got to watch all of this now. What happens to Walker?
why
Does he
is
make it?
why is there another thing I have to now listen to or watch? Um,
Yeah, so
quickly,
Ben, thank you very much for that fantastic news, by the way.
that's great. Which is I will quickly talk about my last piece, which we'll do quickly, which is Bill and Ted Face the Music, which has made an all right amount of money on a thing. It's which is about 32 million.
Okay.
Kind of. So which I think is already over the budget of what it was made for. I think it was in the
Okay.
20s. Let
Okay.
me
So they could
just.
be heading well into break even territory and everything else is gravy.
Yeah, so I think it was 25 million that they made the movie was made for, and it's 32 million so far in video on demand, cinema, limited cinema releases, and essentially the
Okay.
collective kind of thing. So which is nice.
And
It's good.
it's gonna have a long life on streaming services, etc. etc. Like I'll be watching it. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see it. Except I can wait to see it. Once it shows up in a streaming service, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna go on premium VOD it. So oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Fair play to Bill and Ted. Good job.
Mm,
Yeah, because that was one of those films I was going to go to the cinema way back when we were doing videos about what are we going to watch in 2020. It was
yeah.
on the list for me for
Yeah.
saying I was going to go to the cinema for it. It's what a weird year this has been, folks. What a weird year.
It really has. So, well, that's yeah. I'm all newsed out. You
All
know.
tapped out. Then I'm just going to remind people of one thing. Both myself and Paul, very much like a man called Aaron Sorkin. And in about a week's time or 2 weeks' time, the Trial of the Chicago Seven is coming out on Netflix. An Aaron Sorkin film. It's it's looking like it's going to be pretty good, folks. So expect us to more than likely watch it and do an episode. So we'd love it if you watched it too and joined us along to give out about why we're wrong.
Mm-hmm. All
Yeah.
right.
So on that note, I've been Patrick,
And I've been Paul.
and we're Texas Rangers. Actually, we're not. I'm sure it's illegal to say that. No, I did not mean that in that way. I'm Chuck Norris. Oh no, that's not okay either. Uh, see you next week.
Okay, that was. See, wait. I think it is illegal to pretend to be Texas Rangers. I just want to say. So for the
Okay.
FBI and Hollywood, our life stories when we finally get arrested, which
Yes,
is I want Jared from Supernatural to play me. He's
I don't mind if Chuck Norris actually plays me, whatever age he is, because Chuck Norris ain't gonna die, folks. He's just gonna his beard's gonna lift him up and walk him around.
that is
That's what that
groovy.
goatee does.
That is
It carries
groovy.
Chuck around after death. That's got
Uh,
grim, actually.
It's
Paul,
really
get
good.
us out of here.
On that note, see you later, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell if you want more of this, which is do the weird thing that he's currently doing. check out our library and stuff. And we also like comments of any subjects that you want us to take on. All right, guys. See you
See you
later.
later. Thanks for the comments, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.